The Chinese spaceplane company targets suborbital tourism, point-to-point travel by 2025. How would you feel if you were to hop onto a flight which gave you a chance to see space? Not the sky, the space. And you might ask, but aren't they the same thing? Well, no, not really. The sky is the region in which sunlight is scattered in the Earth's atmosphere, making it visible from the surface of the planet, while space is everything beyond that. The sky will be blue when it is daytime and black at night, but the space as we know, it's always blacker, glittering with millions of stars here and there. So back to my question, how would you feel if you were to hop onto a flight which gave you a chance to see space? Thrilled? Excited? Wonderful? Or perhaps scared? The idea in itself seems absurd and impossible, doesn't it? But thanks to technology and science, another absurd and impossible idea is becoming possible at this very moment. One of the world's leading tech giants, a country known for great technological advancements, is working on a suborbital tourism plan. Our dear old China plans to launch a suborbital passenger spaceflight by 2025. But how do they do this? Since when have they been working on this? And what even is suborbital tourism? We will get to that in just a second. Do remember to subscribe and click the bell icon for regular updates on the latest developments in the scientific world. What is suborbital tourism? Suborbital tourism in its essence is not really different from the usual tourism carried out via airplanes, except for two things. Firstly, during a suborbital flight, for a short period of time, perhaps a couple of minutes, passengers will be able to see into space. Secondly, the suborbital flights are much faster than regular airplane flights. The current plan China is working on aims to carry passengers from Beijing, China to New York City, United States of America in just 1 hour. In its scientific definition, a suborbital spaceflight is a spaceflight in which the spacecraft reaches outer space, but its trajectory intersects the atmosphere or surface of the gravitating body from which it was launched, so that it will not complete one orbital revolution. It does not become an artificial satellite or reach escape velocity. In other words, easier words, a suborbital spacecraft launched from Earth will move beyond the atmosphere at some point of its journey, but will not complete a revolution around Earth. This feature is only specific to satellites. Secondly, a suborbital spacecraft will not reach escape velocity. Escape velocity is the minimum velocity required by an object to leave the gravitational field of the planet it is launched from. If an object reaches escape velocity, the gravity on the planet it was launched from will not be able to pull it back to its surface. Thankfully, suborbital spacecraft cannot escape velocity this easily. So, a suborbital spacecraft will go up, cross the atmosphere, and come back down, following a parabolic path. This way, passengers in such a spacecraft will be able to get a good view into space before they return to their destination. The landing point may be the same as the launching point, or it may be totally different. The history of suborbital spaceflights. China is not the first one to work on suborbital spaceflights, even though it might be the one to launch a suborbital tourism plan. The internationally recognized boundary to cross in order of a flight to be called suborbital spaceflight is called the Kármán boundary. This boundary is 100 kilometers at altitude. Joseph Walker, an American World War II pilot, experimental physicist, NASA test pilot, and astronaut, made 2 suborbital flights in 1963 using the X-15, a hypersonic rocket-powered North American aircraft. Earlier, on 5th May 1961 and 21st July 1961, Alan Shepard and Gus Grissom, respectively, reached an altitude of 188 kilometers and 190 kilometers using the Mercury Redstone. The Mercury Redstone launch vehicle designed for NASA's Project Mercury was the first American crewed space booster. It was used for 6 suborbital Mercury flights from 1960 to 1961, culminating with the launch of the first and 11 weeks later, the second American in space. Alan Shepard was an American astronaut, naval aviator, test pilot, and businessman, while Gus Grissom was an Air Force pilot for the United States of America and an astronaut. After 1963, nobody crossed the Kármán border until 1975. On 5th April, the Soyuz 18A carried 7 Russians to an altitude of 192 kilometers. It was a 2-day journey and they landed 56 kilometers at the east of Arkhangelsk, Kazakhstan. The next suborbital spaceflight did not occur until 2004. On 21st June and 29th September, Spaceship One carried Mike Melville 0.1 kilometers and 2.9 kilometers beyond the Kármán boundary, respectively. On 4th October 2004, the same spacecraft carried Brian Binney 12 kilometers beyond the Kármán boundary. For those accomplishments, In 2004, Spaceship One won the $10 million Ansari X prize as the first privately developed space vehicle capable of carrying 3 people on a suborbital flight. Since then, there have not been any milestone achievements in the field of suborbital space flights, and specifically suborbital tourism as of yet. This is where the new Chinese plan comes in. The Chinese plan. The Chinese company Beijing Lingkong Tingxing Technology Co. Limited, commonly known as Space Transportation, has revealed that they are currently working on a suborbital city-to-city traveling plan. According to them, ground tests will be completed by 2023, the first flight will be made in 2024, and the first crewed flight will be scheduled for 2025. An animated video on the website shows a practical representation of their plan. It shows passengers boarding a one-winged plane. The rocket-powered plane takes off vertically from China. Somewhere in its journey, the rocket-powered wing detaches from the plane while the plane continues its suborbital adventure. The plane finally lands vertically in Dubai, standing on its 3 legs that pop out of its rear just before the landing. Another parallel plane that the company has been working on aims to complete a global orbital test flights by 2030, that too with a crewed aircraft. Founded in 2018, Space Transportation, or the Beijing Lingkong Tingxiang Technology, is a relatively new corporation. So if somebody wonders how they're able to do so much so quickly, their concerns are valid. But the thing is that due to mankind's ages of old urges to see what is out there, funding for space adventures is found much more easily than funding for solving Earth's problems. A sad reality is that this might actually be 100% true. Secondly, anything that catches the interest of the masses, and especially the media, becomes the apple of the investor's eye. And as we all know, in today's day and age, space adventures or anything even remotely space-related is extremely intriguing for both the public and the media. The same thing applies to this project too. In August 2021, Space Transportation announced that they have managed to raise $46.3 million for their hypersonic spaceplane plans. They've secretly been running test flights for a long time too, the latest being conducted on the 23rd of January 2022. According to some reports, this was the 10th test flight. China's main space contractor, the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, CASC, has also conducted secret launches of orbital and suborbital spacecrafts in 2020 and 2021 from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center as part of the Space Plan Development Program. Knowing that these plans has been underway for a long time now, it's no surprise that the fast-paced Chinese are planning to officially launch this by 2025. Only recently, China developed an artificial sun and moon for the research experiment. A mean feat indeed. What does this mean for the future? With the backing of long-term investors, space tourism is a relatively new yet promising industry for the producers as well as the consumers. There are many plans for space tourism, insurance, and space hotels under process, and we are excited to see what they will look like. It's also interesting to note that if this suborbital travel plan succeeds, it will open doors for many new space adventures. Where else can a man go after this? To the moon? Or to Mars? Or somewhere even further away? The possibilities are endless. Once this plan succeeds and the group of space tourists returns successfully, its demand will increase. This means that what seems to be the activity for the rich only at the moment will soon become affordable for most. Space flights may become a common thing just as your regular airplane flights. We hope that this plan works out. It is something that will change tourism industry for the better. Whether or not it succeeds within the given deadline is a mystery that will only unravel once the first flight is successfully made. Until then, we gotta wait and watch.